Hello everyone! Welcome to HP Extreme, the new generation of hot process soap making. This is Sharon with Rose of Sharon Essential Skincare, and thank you so much for joining me today for the making and cutting of our little Tiffany dress hot process soap. But before we get started, I did want to share with you that there will be an ebook tutorial coming soon. This will be a step-by-step instruction guide along with color photos on how to create hot process soap in 10 minutes. So be on the lookout. So let's get started. This soap was created using the Sharon Johnson hot process method, also known as the stick blend method. If you're not familiar with this method of soap making, I suggest you subscribe to my channel and go and watch the previous videos. Today I will be using green as well as luster blue mica, and I will be using titanium dioxide for the white. And I always like to pre-mix my colorants, whether they are micas, neons, dioxides, or ultramarines. I do so by mixing 1 teaspoon of each to 1 tablespoon of either water or oil. I then store my colorants in bottles. No worries about being ready to make soap and mixing at the last moment, because they're always ready to go. Unlike cold process soap making, with hot process, you should always keep your soap warm. When creating my soap recipes, I prefer using hard and brittle oils for a harder bar of soap. Most of my recipes consist of either palm, tallow, or lard, as well as coconut oil. I find that when using these particular oils, along with using 40% water to oil ratio, my soaps are very hard immediately after cutting and unmolding my soap. So there is very little to no shrinking of my bars of soap. They are just as beautiful several days, weeks, and months afterwards. Now it's time to add the fragrance oil. I always like to do so after I color my soap. So now that I've colored my soap, as well as added the fragrance oil, it's time to layer my soap in the tall and skinny mold. And today I will be using my gear tie as a hanger swirl tool. This gear tie can be purchased at any local hardware store, Walmart, or even Amazon. As I begin layering my soap, I will be doing what's called a drop swirl method. With this method, it allows the soap to break through the previous layers of soap. So when you're layering the soap as well as using the drop swirl method, it gives the soap much more dimension when you use your hanger swirl tool. So now I'll use my gear tie. I will go down the center of the mold and I will go swirl up one side, swirl, swirl, swirl. Go down the center of the mold, swirl, swirl, swirl. And then around the top, down and up. I know that's a little confusing, but so many times I see people who use the swirl tool and I have no idea what they're doing. So I tried to do the best as I could to explain exactly what was going on. So now I'm getting ready to prepare the top of the soap. But what I'll do first is spray the top with 70% isopropyl alcohol. What this does is make the top of the surface of the soap much easier to work with. Now it's time to add the roses to the top of the soap. I will be creating 11 bars of soap and using 3 roses per soap. Yes, this does take a lot of time and patience. Okay, let's speed this up a bit. So there you have it, little Tiffany dress soap. Hold tight for the cut. And yes, as always, this soap has been frozen in the freezer for approximately 4 hours. And what I'm doing to the top is I'm scoring in the places where I want to cut each bar of soap individually. And for this bar of soap, I am once again using my handy dandy cheese slicer purchased from Amazon. And when cutting soap, I always like to say, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. But I'm quite pleased with how this has turned out. So now you can see what I mean by the feathered look. Instead of a swirl butterfly type look, it's actually a feathered look that goes in an upward direction. And that's because I go down the center of the mold with the gear tie, I swirl up one side, I go down again the center of the soap, and I swirl up the opposite side, and that gives a more feathered look throughout your soap. Alright guys, that concludes the making and cutting of Little Tiffany Dress Hot Process Soap. I am so glad that you decided to join me today. But before I leave, I want to say, may God continue to bless you, keep you, and shine His face upon you. Don't forget, ebook tutorial coming soon.